Hi everyone, and welcome back to this art club. Which? Anyway, I decided a name, and I'm gonna reveal it on Monday. So I maybe have time to do like some graphics and some things like that. So yeah, I'm putting it not for children because, this is what happens. I also know like there is a way of seeing like comments and stuff, but I'm shit at it, so I don't know. Oh, there it is. Great. So today it's, oops, sorry. The wonders of being live. So today is Friday, and as I promised, on Fridays we're going to talk about art news, and I think it's very important, and also I love doing it because it's something that I do for myself, and I think it's wonderful to be able to share it so that you can also tell me what are the things that I'm missing, because it's not like media or website describe everything in the same way or with the same relevance. So it's just I would love for this to become a place where we can share what we know about news and what has happened, and we can inform each other. Anyway, for those of you who are new, my name is Joy. I'm an art jeweler, and I'm trying to establish an art club because I think that as artists who, especially those of you who are not living like in a big city, or those of you who don't have those big connections or networks with like galleries and such, I think it's very important to have an art community. And since I don't have it, I'm trying to build one. So I'm doing these lives 30 minutes a day, every day, well, from Monday to Friday, the days where I'm in my workshop. You can see this thing behind me is my workshop. And I'm going to talk about arts and crafts because I do think that they intertwine and sometimes become one. And each day we're going to have a different theme. So on Mondays, we're going to do, like book club style things. So this Monday, we're going to discuss a documentary on Francis Bacon called Brush with Violence. I'm going to link it below after I've finished this live. But you can find it on my community tab. And then on Tuesdays, I decided that we're going to talk about jewelry or crafts in general, but I'm going to start with jewelry just because that's the thing where I'm like the most, where I know the most of. So I think it would be interesting to share some of my favorite jewelry artists and some criticism of some jewelry pieces, because I think I think jewelry, it's a very underrated kind of art form, and I think it's the most intimate one because it actually lays on our skin and we bring it together everywhere. So I think it's very intimate and personal as an art form, but I think it's very underrated. Sorry. I'm getting like away in a tangent. And then on Wednesdays we're going to talk about craft, and I'm going to also like show you a bit of working. On Thursday I'm going to learn how to draw live, and hopefully you're going to do this with me, either learn how to draw, give me advice on how to draw better, take 30 minutes out of your day to just try to do and learn another kind of art form that you don't know how to do, or just draw with us, with this whole community. And on Fridays we're going to do a roundup of events and what has happened and is going to happen in the rest of the world. So to start this first Friday and our second day of this art club, I'm going to talk about I'm going to start with the smallest fairs that are going to happen next week, and then so we can have time to talk about the two biggies, because we know that October, it's a very big month for art fairs, because we just had Frieze that it's going to close I think on the 20th, and we're going to have Art Basel Paris, which is going to be between the 18th, so today, and the 20th. So we're going to end up with those, but we're going to start with what's going to happen next week. So I made a wonderful list on a piece of paper that was already used for something else, because I never throw away paper just because I used it once, because what's the point? So the first, I'm sorry. I want to say that this is the first time that I do this, so I'm sorry if I haven't included everything that has happened in the next week or so in the world. As I said, it's kind of difficult to find a lot of news about what's happening in some parts of the world rather than others, because art is mostly Western centric, especially when they're looking for like big buyers and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm sorry if I didn't mention some of these amazing fairs. So the first one I want to talk about, which is gonna be running, is Art Toronto. So this is the 25th edition. It's in Toronto. It's going to be this October until the 27th, if I'm not wrong. And the theme is the place to which we return. So it's about being home and feeling home. And they have more than 100 galleries. So if you're somewhere in Canada and you have time, I think this would be a very interesting fair. It's still, most of what I'm going to talk about is going to be modern and contemporary, especially contemporary. So we have installations. You can see this their website. You have like, if we check the exhibitors. Sorry, Italian has different accents. So there are different mediums. There are pictures, collage, photos, wall art, textiles. There is. It's a very not diverse, but not diverse. I don't know how many like diverse artists there are there, but it's. It's a fair that doesn't have a specific genre, like it's not only about sculpture or paintings or whatever. So this is the biggest fair that, it's the largest international fair that they have in Canada. So if you're there, if you have the opportunity, just go and visit it, because art is always better seen like live than from here. But if you can't, like me, because I live in Italy, so I'm not going to go to Toronto just to check a fair out. I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. Unfortunately, first of all, just flying on to the other side of the world, like, hello, carbon footprint. And I know that fossil fuel companies want me to feel guilty about it, and they actually succeed, because I do feel guilty every time I take an airplane. But I try to, balance that. Anyway, that was just me being me. I'm sorry. So the second one is Contemporary Istanbul. Is from the 23rd of October until the 27th. So it's next week, and it's the 19th edition. And they're really trying to bring Istanbul into the, more prominent art market. So they have around 50 galleries, and they have a lot of Turkish galleries, but also some international galleries. The Turkish government said that they really want to invest in art and what they think is soft power, which I'm not. If we want to talk politics, I'm not really like a fan of the Turkish government, but I do think it's a great idea to invest in culture all the time. I think it's very important, and I think more governments should do it, not because of soft power, but because art is relevant for humans and for humankind. So anyway, so as you can see, I'll put all the links to the website below. I know you can find them by yourself just by Googling them, but so they're just more comfortable in one place. And this exhibition is again another contemporary art exhibition. And it's a bit smaller than the ones that we're going to see at the end, but it's growing, so it's an interesting place to be and to see what's happening. Hopefully, we can go and check the exhibitors. Sorry, my English today is just not working. You can here it just says where they come from, but there are some from China, from Dusseldorf, Sao Paulo, Dubai, Seville, Athens, New York. So there are many international exhibitors, and it's again mostly like the Toronto Art Fair is contemporary art, also installations, sculptures, stuff like that. So if we want to see the catalogue, I'm downloading it now. I could have done it before. I didn't, I'm sorry. So in the catalogue, you can see some of the exhibitors. I thought there was going to be some, like a preview, but there isn't, so we're not going to see it, I'm sorry. Anyway, if you have the time and if you're close to Istanbul, I absolutely advise you to go and see how it is. Going on, there's going to be, again, from the 23rd to the 27th, Zurich's Art Fair, which is the smallest fair and is mostly for the supply chain. So it's not necessarily for buyers, but it's more for art galleries and art dealers, and it's more local. So while I was like reading some of the things that I usually read, there was an interesting article on how is the art market going. Obviously art jewelry is part of the art market, but not really, but it's still like a luxury item. So it's part of my job to understand how the market is going. There was a big boom in 2021 for jewelry, and now it's like dropping. And auctions at Sotheby's and Christie's haven't been going as they should have. We're going to talk about that a little bit later when we talk about Frieze. But there was this interesting article about why Paris usually is a destination for more local art fairs, because and fairs that are not as big as like Art Basel in Basel and Frieze in London. And unfortunately, the reason for that is because England and Switzerland. My accents today are weird. Anyway, they have softer regulations for money laundering, and they don't have high taxes on millionaires and billionaires and very rich people. And that's why there are these like super buyer that buy stuff over 500,000 euros. And I think that's very, very unfortunate. And it's something that I'm really sad about. So anyway, to go back to Zurich's Art Fair is a bit more, as I said, for suppliers, and it's a bit more local. So again, what we're seeing in these places is mostly the same kind of art. So it's mixed materials, is paintings, installations, some sculpture, some ceramics, but only usually when it's not considered craft. So it's not really like vases, but it's vases with a meaning kind of way. There is usually no jewelry, not much woodwork, there isn't design. So there's nothing useful. That sometimes is the line. Something useful, something not useful. So you can use whatever material you want, but it needs to be useless to be in one of these fairs. Something you just look at, which is great. It's very important, I think, to, as an artist, that I think you really want to do is to communicate what you see, who you are, and also to find who you are through your art. So I think it's very important that it doesn't need to be useful. Personally, I enjoy the fact that I have limits with art jewelry, and that it has to be useful to be considered jewelry. I mean, there is some art jewelry that is absolutely not wearable, but we can discuss that if you would want to. I would love to add one of the days and talk more about like art philosophy, but I don't think, I don't know. I think it's a bit maybe premature at the moment. So in these art fair, there isn't any useful stuff, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. Going on, we have also known as Africa, which is going to be in Paris between the 18th and 20th of October. So at the same time we have Art Basel Paris. And It's a smaller art fair. They have an artist residency program in Venice, which I think it's amazing. And residencies are super important for artists, and especially, you know, for emerging artists. I think that it's fundamental. And this fair concentrates on African artists and of African descent, so in the African diaspora, focusing on the Americas, the Caribbeans, and also the ex-colonies, French colonies. So I think this exhibition is going to be super interesting. Just looking at the pictures I've seen so far, actually, it has been the one that resonated the most with me, honestly. And they also sponsored, so I have this wonderful piece of paper with the stuff that I prepared. They have they should have, obviously you can't see it here, but they should have a monumental installation made by Malam, I'm sorry, I don't know the pronunciation, who's from Cameroon, and created this monumental installation on overconsumption. I'm really, really curious to see what that looks like. I mean, it could be just a huge pile of clothing, but whoops, oh shit, whoops, my leg. Anyway, but I hope it's something more interesting than that. I hope we're going to see it, I guess, in the next week or so, when pictures are going to surface. Actually, probably it's on the 20th, it's on the 18th, so it starts today, so maybe even tonight we're going to see some of the first pictures. But if you're in Paris for Art Basel, or you are fortunate enough to live in Paris or whatever, I think this it's a very interesting exhibition. And yeah, if you have time. The next one, before we go to the big twos, is the biennial in Venice. It's going to go on until the 24th of November. It's has been open since April. If you have time, Venice is wonderful. Just go, take a look, whatever you're interested in. I've been to the biennial other years. I haven't been this year because I'm using every weekend to work for the fair I'll be going to in Philadelphia, so I haven't had time to just go to Venice. Actually, I was there 2 weeks ago, but when I went to Homofaba, but we were there on Sunday and Mondays, and Sunday we went to Homofaba, and then on Mondays everything was closed, so we didn't do our research properly. Anyway, I have contrasting emotions on the biennial. I think some of the national, what they're called, spaces are amazing. Some of them, I think they're really, they're not really interesting. Some of them look a bit cheap. So yeah, but again, I think it's always worth to go to Venice and visit it. Sometimes the exhibitions around the biennial, they're not part of the biennial, but that are in the same period of time, are more interesting than the biennial. Sometimes. 2 years ago, I saw one from Wallace Chan. He's a master art jeweler. Amazing. He does all these titanium things. I'm going to talk about him on our Tuesdays, because he's like one of the, if not the best at the moment, living art jewelers. But he's also a sculptor, so he brought some of his huge sculptures in titanium. My personal opinion is that his jewelry is more interesting than his sculpture, but it was a huge work to make those statues in titanium. So I understand how difficult it is to create something like that. So that being said, we have the last 10 minutes of this 30-minute break, because I want to keep it to 30 minutes so that we can have this break together and then go on with our lives, with our work, with our evenings, with whatever it is that we want to do. So the two bigs are Art Basel Paris and Frieze. So Art Basel is started today and it's going to go on until the 20th. It's in the Grand Palais in France, in Paris, where they just did like fencing at the Olympics. I don't know if you've seen it, but it was like amazing. And they expect Art Basel to be a bit more classical. As I said before, Paris has become again a very rich environment for artists. I think I've been to Paris this summer, and I think that honestly, the mayor of Paris is doing an incredible job on Paris. As a tourist, obviously, I don't live there, so I can't say for people who live there. If you want to comment on that and you're from Paris, please do. But it seemed the way I lived it for like a couple of weeks was like a very livable city. In London, in my opinion, is full of like chains, like shops. It has no local shops anymore. The shops all look the same. They're all like from big chains and everything. And the same with restaurants. So I thought that Paris was much more lively than London. But this has a downside. Since not Paris only, but France has higher taxes on like millionaires and billionaires. Macron cut some of those taxes, but before he did those cuts, about 60,000 millionaires flee from France because of that, and so that unfortunately has consequences on the art market, which is less available to spend that kind of money because those people are not in Paris anymore. So this is the first year that we have Art Basel in Paris. We're going to see what's going to happen. I'm really sorry that it took the place of I don't remember the name anyway, of another huge art fair in Paris, and it has 195 galleries from 42 countries and territories, and they expect to have not lower price points, but to sell at lower price points compared to Frieze. So our last 7 minutes actually, because it was 2 minutes late, but I'm getting better. So Frieze London apparently was a great success. It was they had loads of visitors. It closes today. It's Frieze London compared to Art Basel in general, not only Paris, but it's more contemporary, is more creative. They had a couple of painters who were painting on the spot, and they sold those paintings. They had some installations. They had an installation of an artist whose name, unfortunately, I don't remember, who was learning how to play the drums. So, yeah. So it's more interactive. It's more contemporary. The part Frieze London. There is also Frieze Masters, where you have mostly the secondary market. So is mostly paintings, but also other things, but mostly paintings that are from famous masters that are usually dead and have been for quite a while. That was very cultured of me to say that. But anyway, so apparently Frieze has been quite good, especially the VIP days. If you're interested in this kind of news, they saw some Yokoi Kusama and they saw some Lisa Yuskavage. I don't know how to pronounce that. Yuskavage. Sorry. I'm terrible with names, and I'm even worse with pronunciations of any kind of word that's not Italian or English. I'm sorry, I'm butchering names. Anyway, apparently the UK market is still contracting, as most of the art market of the world, unfortunately, and we can see this because the night of the opening we also had an auction, and it didn't go as it didn't go as planned, let's say. So Sotheby's auction did only 49 millions, and 47 was the lower estimate. So it was just above the lower estimate, which is not great for the art market. And overall, Christie's and Sotheby's saw a contraction in the first half of the 2024 of about 22-24%. Well, Christie's of 22% and Sotheby's of 24%. So it's not going really well, but there have been many items sold between like under 100, like mid. I don't know how 100,000 euros can be mid-range, but still around mid-range prices. So the fair, I must admit, I've watched it on YouTube mostly because I follow a couple art channels and also like Frieze, and they had some really nice videos, I must admit, on, I'm going to lower the volume, on what was happening at Frieze. This one on Hugh Lock was amazing. I recommend this video. I think the way he sees stuff was absolutely like enlightening. He was seeing things that I've never seen in any, you know, he was looking at a work of art and he was seeing all kind of meanings, all kind of shapes, and the way he was communicating with these art forms, I think was super interesting. So I'll link this video below. It's on YouTube, and I think it's super interesting. And also the sculpture garden in Regent's Park looked quite amazing. And even for those who didn't attend Frieze or Frieze London, it's going to be open a little bit more. I don't remember the exact date, but sorry, I thought maybe I can find it here, but no, not really, not here, not at the moment. So anyway, I absolutely recommend this video. As I said, this is amazing. And if you had, well, now Frieze is closed, so I hope if you were in London, hopefully you had time, money, and possibility to go and see it. And otherwise, we'll try next time. You know, I wasn't in London, so I'm really sorry that I don't get to see these art fairs. I think that's why it's really important for me to catch up online, because I can't just fly over there for every time I feel like an exhibition is worth it, because there are so many, which is great. It's absolutely great, but it's one of the things I really miss about living in a big city. And this is one of the ways I try to like fill that void, let's say. So this is what's going to happen in the next week, kind of around the world, mostly in Europe. And next week I'm going to do a roundup of what's going to happen the week after that, and we're also going to talk about Art Basel Paris, to see what happened there and how it went, because I still think that even if art is so volatile and it's very unreliable, because it mostly unfortunately works on network, I think it's important to understand as artists what's happening in the art world. So yeah, that's it for today. I hope that was interesting for you. It was really interesting for me because, as I said, I think it's important for me to understand what happens around the world, and also, you know, sometimes this is one of the ways I find out that there are fairs or events I would like to participate to, even if not, you know, this year, or send an application to rather, even if not this year, maybe next year or the year after that. So I think it's really important. One of the things that I'm sorry I didn't talk about was Pad London, which is more down my lane because it's arts and crafts. So there is also jewellery. There were some of the galleries that I follow as an art jeweller. And yeah, I haven't spoken about it just because it was 2 weeks ago. So I'm trying to make this, you know, so that we know what's going to happen and you can go visit if you have the opportunity. And also, you know, just talk about the week before. You know, I'm trying to give it a format. That's it. That's all it is. But if you want to talk about PAD, I would love to do that. I think it's a great fair and I would love to participate. Well, I can't now because I'm not a gallery, but in time I'd love to participate. And that being said, it has been 30 minutes, so your break is over, my break is over, and as you can hear from my beautiful voice, I'm not feeling very well. I have my nose is runny and my ears are completely closed. Yay, I love it. So I'm gonna use this Friday evening to do something relaxing, like take a bath, something like that, and try to not sneeze too much because, you know, that's not very nice of me. Anyway, so I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and I'll see you on Monday when we're going to talk about Francis Bacon and that wonderful documentary. Don't forget, because it's really worth it, believe me. So I'll see you on Monday. Bye. Whoops.